Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Colton, and in today's video, I want to talk about the importance of printing and interacting physically with your photos. And I don't just want to talk about the importance of that, but I also want to share some tips and some examples of things that I've done to be able to actually get my artwork in a physical, tangible space. So the important side, I think, is fairly obvious, but I know that so many of us, myself included, will go out, will take photos, and then they sort of just live forever on our camera or our computer. I think our photos deserve more than that, and I think there's something we're missing by not necessarily printing that work, because there's so much, creative growth that occurs when you're interacting with your photos in a tangible way, when you're being, able to actually consider the photo and review it and critique it and even share it out with other people. But all too often, the solution for printing out photos is to print and frame them. And that is a great option. Obviously, I've done some printing and framing myself. But look, we only have a certain amount of wall space in our homes or offices or studios. And so framing isn't really the best option in every case, especially if we're wanting to interact with a lot of photos or, kind of print often the photos that we really like. As we cover these, I can't possibly cover every option. So if there's some things that you've done to print your work physically that I don't mention, please share them in the comments section. It's not just of interest to me, but anyone who watches this video will, I'm sure, appreciate that. And to some extent, hopefully, even if you don't necessarily want to do the options that I present, maybe it will get the creative juices flowing to get you to start thinking about other things that you could do to print your work physically. So without further ado, let's look at our first option, which is also probably my favorite option. And that is a Viewmaster, which is what this is most commonly referred to as, but you may recognize this. These are pretty common items in your childhood to interact with. Basically comes with a little reel here, and you put that in, point it towards a light source, and then just change the lever to move through each image inside. So this is a really cool way to print your photos and be able to interact with them. Obviously, this object is not too large, so it's something that could go on a coffee table or on a shelf in your office or living room or studio, and it doesn't take up too much room. Plus, each additional reel is smaller than a CD. So it's very easy to have a number of these and store them without having to commit to a ton of storage space. So this is one of my favorite options. And what's really cool about this is it does give you the ability to kind of get creative with each of these reels, because you get to decide what you put on here. And each one of these can hold a max of 7 images. And so, what 7 images are you going to put here? Is it going to be your greatest hits? Are you going to try to do some sort of theming within the reel? Maybe it's all portraits in natural light. Maybe it's all, shots you took at, an IndyCar race or something. Like, you can basically treat this like you would a photo book or a zine and put together some sort of theme that brings all of the images together and ties them together. So I think that's a really cool opportunity. And so this is definitely one of my favorite options for printing. It's a conversation starter. It's going to entice your viewer to want to pick up and look at your artwork, because a little bit of a nostalgia hit of just seeing this device and knowing what it does. So pretty simple, also not a massive cost, surprisingly fairly cheap and affordable to be able to do. And so that is my number one option on this list. Okay, so option 2 here is kind of a maybe modern-ish take on an old classic, and that is a photo album. Although I think this is a little better than your traditional photo albums from when you were a kid. If you go to a hobby store and you go to look at a photo album, they're all going to be kind of the same format, and mostly they're going to be older style. They're like for family albums or maybe like wedding albums. But if you go online And granted, this is a video about making physical things, and we're talking about going online. But if you go online, you can find tons of websites where you can get really unique ideas on the photo album. So this particular one is a cloth album, and I buy a bunch of these in different like pastel colors. But in addition to that, I also do different formats for the inside sleeve. So this particular one is for Instax Mini photos. So the whole album utilizes Instax Mini for the actual pictures. You can get these for Instax Wide, Polaroid. You could even do traditional styles like a regular 4x6 or 5x7 print. And you can also adjust the layout in a lot of cases to be able to do pages where maybe you have some, vertical sleeves or some horizontal sleeves. And so you can get a bit creative in that sense. But what I also think is cool about doing something like this is that, again, you can put a bunch of random photos in here that you really love and have something physical to interact with. Or you can also treat this like you would a photo book and try to come up with themes that either extend across the entire book or maybe are even specific to a single page. And each page that you turn is a new theme in the book with 4, 5, however many sets of photos that are all tied together. So again, this is relatively inexpensive. And another benefit is that if you get tired of certain photos or you take some better photos and you want to change up the entire theme of the book or of a single page, you can easily just pull these out, put some new ones in, and keep on going. So I think these are great. I have a few different ones, one for 4x6s, Instax Mini that you just saw, have a couple of those, and then also one for the Instax Wide images as well. And then the last example I'm going to give here is an interesting spin on a digital picture frame, and that is using an old CRT television to act as a digital picture frame for your images. So in order to do this, you need some sort of screen that shows an image like an old CRT television. And then you need some sort of adapter box type thing that will take a USB drive or an SD card with pictures on it and basically just transmit that over to the television. And I'll do this in a few configurations. Sometimes I'll just do one single photo, and so it's literally just a picture frame for the one photo. And then other times I'll do, kind of like a slideshow, or maybe even photos and then like some small short video breaks between the photos. So really you can set this up in a number of ways. And it basically acts as just a little bit more interesting, little bit more unique digital picture frame. And that similarly allows you to get creative because you can also then use moving pictures or videos, as we know them, to be kind of mixed in with your still images, which I think brings in a little more interest from viewers and changes it up a little bit. But that also allows you, again, to swap out photos based on the need. And so maybe you could have a few different folders on an SD card that have different themes, and based on the situation or how you're feeling, you can pull up pictures from each of the different folders. So it's a really cool idea. In addition to that, you can always find some older digital picture frames. They've been around for a long time, so not hard to find them at garage sales or thrift stores. And that also can be used in the same way. Similar to this, you can find those converter boxes that go to HDMI, and you could connect it to your 4K television if you didn't want like the nostalgia hit of it. And now you've turned your massive TV into a vehicle to showcase your photos as well. So it's not quite as physical as the first two options, but it is still existing in a dedicated space and allowing you to sort of curate what photos you're going to be showing. So those are the 3 examples that I've done here that I'm sharing in this video, but I do want to rapid fire a few other ideas, some of which I have done in the past and some of which I've just seen other people do. So here's the rapid fire. First one is stickers. You could do a sticker of your photo, and one possible suggestion there is like maybe if you photograph classic cars, you take that image, you crop out the background, and then you create a translucent PNG of just the car, send that off, and then you have a custom sticker that is not only of the car, but it's also in the shape of the car. So that could be a really creative way to do that. Similarly, you could have a pen made, and it's not a pen that you write with, but rather a pen that you stick onto a shirt or a backpack. And so maybe your camera bag has some different pens on it of your own photos. So when someone sees you and they say, hey, what kind of photography do you do? Instead of pulling up your phone, you just show them your camera bag and say, hey, here's the kinds of images that I make. That could be really cool. I've done a t-shirt before where I had an image portrait that I put on a t-shirt. There's obviously mugs. I think that might be a bit overdone, but that's certainly an option that my dad did once in the past. And so those are some examples of other ways that you could put photos into a physical form. But again, that doesn't cover everything. And if you guys have any ideas, I would love to hear what you've done in the past, or maybe cool ideas you've seen other people do. And I know other people watching this video will appreciate that as well. Maybe I'll try one of those out and put it in a future video. But otherwise, if you got anything out of it, or if you enjoyed the video, if it got those creative juices flowing, please do give me a thumbs up. It really helps out the channel. And if you do want to see more content from me, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and that's going to keep you in the know for when the next video drops. But for now, I'm Colton. I'll see you in the next one.